The dating app Tinder is test driving a new feature and it's proving controversial. They're adding a filter that will allow paying users to set how tall they want their potential matches to be. It's not a hard filter. It doesn't block shorter matches from view, but it does order matches by how closely they fill the preference, which means that if you're someone into tall partners, tall matches will come up first. So what's the issue? Well, some men are furious. This post is from an incel community account, and they say it's actually happening. Tinder is adding a height filter so that women can filter out short men. It never began for short men. So it never began for short men is sort of saying it's not just finished for short men. It never began. Another user said, girls went so hard with the height talk on social media that Tinder gave it in and added a height filter. Chris Thomas had a more general criticism with this post. So we're filtering humans like Amazon products now. At this point, Tinder might as well let you pick eye color, income, and trauma history. Just skip the convo and ship the boyfriend. So are these men right to be angry? Well, there is evidence that it's not always easy being a short, straight man on dating apps. According to a 2023 survey, only 15% of women on dating apps showed any interest in men under 5'8", while 60% were interested in men over 6 feet tall. Some women appear to go to extraordinary lengths to make sure they don't end up with someone less tall than they'd like. One Twitter user posted this last year. The girls are using ChatGPT to see if men are lying about their height on dating apps. Upload 4 pictures. It uses proportions and surroundings to estimate height. I tested it on 10 friends and family members. All estimates were within 1 inch of their real height. That post was viewed nearly 400,000 times, and the new filter has sparked questions about whether having a height preference isn't perhaps a little discriminatory. And this is from one ex-user called Lisa Britton. Tinder is implementing a height filter, and it will allow women to filter out men below their preferred height. It's so hypocritical that men are demonized for having preferences, but it's okay for women, often about things that men can't change. Imagine if Tinder added a weight filter. Others don't understand why women want the height filter in the first place. Ex-user Enemy Charlie said this, not to side with men here, but why do women 5'3" and under have such strong preferences for 6 feet plus? You are a hobbit. 5'8" is tall enough. You can't even tell when your 5'8" boyfriend is lying about being 6 foot because you're so short. Others responded to the filter with a little more positivity, like Madeline, who posted this. As the resident tall girl engaged to a shorter man, the Tinder height thing is a nothing problem. It doesn't matter. You will find who you are meant to be with regardless of the dang filters. Love triumphs over dang filters. And they're a gorgeous couple with the man much shorter than the lady. Over on TikTok, though, user Jennifer J had a more material analysis of the new filter.
Hallelujah, Tinder have finally added a height filter so women can filter out the midgets. It's raining men. In all seriousness though, Tinder have done this because subscriptions are dwindling and they think by adding a height filter in the paid subscription option that more women are going to subscribe. Personally, I think it's fucking tone deaf. The problem with dating apps for women isn't that we can't filter by height, because let's remember, most men lie about their height on dating apps anyway. These men will just be making their height 2 or 3 inches taller when they sign up. The reason women don't want to use dating apps is because the men are disrespectful and meeting men off the internet is unsafe. If you want to start making a dating app that's more appealing to women, how about you bring in ID verification so that men feel less comfortable starting a conversation with you, being lustful, making the chat sexual, basically sexually harassing you, and then verbally abusing you when you reject their advances.
So the argument about it being, in the financial interests of the company to do this is interesting. I suppose taking it to its logical conclusion, someone called Ansel Lindner has predicted that then they'll charge men to hide their height from the filter, which I can also absolutely imagine happening. It's worth noting that back in 2019, Tinder originally suggested a height filter as a joke. Posting this, they said height verification is an April Fool's joke. But what's not funny is lying about who you are on Tinder. So stand tall or short, we don't care, and embrace who you are. Tinder did see a sharp fall in paying customers. Earlier this month, Tinder's parent company Match cut 13% of its workforce in response to users moving away from the platform. Although I suppose it could just be replacing some of their workforce with ChatGPT and other AI bots. Ash, you did an interview a while ago, didn't you? William Costello, evolutionary psychologist, about incels. It's actually one of my favorite downstreams. So interesting, especially because there was this really interesting tension between both of you. And I suppose it's not, we can't just say this is just about incels, but sort of lots of the, I suppose, disquiet or discomfort or resentment that men have when it comes to dating in the 21st century is how they feel objectified by apps. And I suppose actually it's not just going to be men, it's going to be women as well. But the apps do tend to make people, I suppose, more superficial, sort of rule people out for reasons that they might not rule them out for if they'd met them in person. Do you think the outrage here was warranted?
Well, yes, in a sense. Finding love, trying to meet a partner with whom you can connect, it's one of the most profound, fulfilling, important aspects of our lives. And when that process has become so captured by an extractive and exploitative and immiserating model like, the Match.com, family, Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, etc., etc., that has really important political consequences. And when it comes to incels in the manosphere, I mean, we've seen this massive divergence between young men and young women, where it's almost like they're living in two different social realities. And one of the things that I've noticed is that when you pay attention to what, many manosphere figures are saying about 80% of women are going for 20% of guys, all women care about is height, appearance, money, is that those things aren't true all the time, but they're especially true on the apps. And I've said this for ages, which is that I think that dating apps aren't just bad for finding love, and they're terrible for finding love, because in order to have a financial model at all, these companies need to keep you on the app, which means they don't want you to delete the app because you found love. So they're not really gonna match you with someone with whom you can have a meaningful relationship. But it also then really toxifies the relationship between heterosexual men and heterosexual women. I do think that the apps are hugely shallow. I was on the apps for maybe a grand total of a month, like not for very long. And I felt that everyone else, one, had got a rule book that I didn't get, and I just felt like somebody's alien grandma when I was trying to talk to anybody. And then the second thing is that it's really it's disconnected from how desire actually works. I was looking at pictures going, okay, well, that seems like a nice picture. I didn't really know if I fancied them. And so I was making these decisions about who I wanted to match with on completely an arbitrary basis. And this is the thing which is so sad, which is, I think all of us have seen in our lives, there are these couples that exist where maybe the woman is quite conventionally attractive and maybe the man isn't so conventionally attractive. Maybe there's something, in his body type or his height or whatever, which puts him outside of those conventional norms of attractiveness. And yet she's crazy about him. And it's not because he's rich, it's not because he drives a Lamborghini. It's because seeing him in a real life context meant that she could become attracted to all of those, character traits which demonstrate someone's value. And also you can be attracted to things which aren't considered conventionally attractive as well. And I know that, Michael, you might say I'm a massive hypocrite because I'm one of those hobbit women with a tall guy. But I tell you, I'd be with him even if he was short because he's fucking funny. And I've been with short kings before. I've even had short kings break my heart. And it's because attraction is so much more complicated and layered and beautiful than what the apps make space for. And I think that the apps draw out our worst selves. I think that it makes people shallow. I think it makes people judgmental. I think it makes people enter into connection with people from a basis of really low trust, which means that things fall apart. And I think that heterosexual men and heterosexual women, they mirror each other in saying, I hate being on the apps. I hate being on the apps. Women treat me badly. They ignore me. I'm invisible. Or women saying men treat me badly. They ghost me. They treat me like I'm disposable. And it's because of this hyper marketized, gamified experience of being on the apps. Honestly, if I could wave a magic wand, I mean, there's lots of other political things I'd do first, end the genocide, end world hunger, communism would be real, but I would also get rid of the apps. Get back to doing what Brits do best, which is become friends with someone, fall dramatically in love with them, and wait until you're both drunk enough at a party for something to happen. That's how nature intended things to go.
No, I do agree. I spent a lot longer than you did on the apps, Ash. I'd say around 15 years. I had some good times, some frustrating times. I suppose where I would differ from you is I would say get rid of the phones. Because if you get rid of dating apps while we still have the phones, then because I think in a way the dating apps have filled a void because we don't hang out so much as we used to. Then people need the dating apps. So if you got rid of the dating apps while we still have social media and the phones, then you might end up with the worst of both worlds because people don't see each other and they don't have a way to find a partner. But if we throw in the whole smartphone in the mix, I'm happy to get rid